Welcome to Garage Talk. This season and this episode brought to you by Nicholson Realty 2.0. As always, I'm Conrad. Let's go.
I'm Ted. It's time to rock and roll.
Hey, Teddy. Today in the garage, we have with us Channel 27 News and Entertainment, Ashley Lopez. How we doing, Ashley?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes, Ashley has agreed to join us and share an event that's coming up and share her story of how she got involved.
So tomorrow we have a memorial ride for Skylee Carmack, which was the girl that was murdered by Amanda Carmack back in 2019. She would have been 16 this year. Unfortunately, she never made it past 10. Her birthday is October 1st. And yeah, it's a great cause. We do a car giveaway. We were able to give that to a senior graduating. I believe it was Ashley Wiseman was her name. She still drives the car, actually. She's
Incredible.
Doing great. We hope to be able to raise enough to do that again this year. And it's at the Gas City Park. It starts noon for registration, and then kickstands up at 2 o'clock. It's free will donation, so you don't have to pay anything. We just are happy if anyone can come. If you're able to donate, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we hope to have a good turnout this year and keep Skylee's memory alive.
It's a great cause.
Yes, it's absolutely a great cause. So, how did you come to know the Carmack family?
So I'm actually neighbors with them.
Okay.
They live just a few houses down. I live on the one block. They're on the second block. The kids I actually knew first. So we have like a bunch of little neighborhood kids that would come over and want to hang out. And they all just kind of hung out around the neighborhood within that block area. And I remember the day I met Skylee, we had a couple neighbor kids come over. It was about 9 in the morning. They came knocking on the door, and I came out to see what they needed. And they were telling me about this kitten that was trapped in this brush. So I get my shoes on. I go down to figure out what's going on because I was a little confused. Well, at the house beside Skylee's, they were taking the tree down. Only part of it was down. And there was a couple kittens that were in there and all the brush. And so the kids, they couldn't figure out how to get the branches off to get the kitten out. So we had them all kind of start from the top and start pulling them away. And we were able to free the kittens. And they were unharmed, which was awesome. That's the day I met Skylee, and I did meet the siblings and her cousins, but I did think they were just visiting. I didn't really ask a bunch of questions. I just said who I was, and they said who they were. Your typical just neighborhood kids playing. Nothing out of the ordinary. And then I've got my dog, Molly. Unfortunately, she passed away last year. Molly loved to get out of the house. She was like Houdini, and she loved going down to Carmack's. She loved the free belly rubs. The kids would come out, they'd, rub her belly. She would just find, when she'd get out, she'd just go find the nearest kid that she could find that would just pet her. She was a wonderful dog. Love her dearly. Miss her dearly. So how I came to know Amanda and Kevin was actually the same way. Molly had gotten out. I got a message on Facebook from Amanda. I was at a softball game for my daughter in Alexandria. So we were on our way back to go get her. And in the meantime, we just asked if she could kind of keep Molly there, and we'd get her on the way back. Kevin was home, and that was actually the first time I met Kevin as well. He was driving truck, so he was gone a lot. And we talked for a little bit, just basic neighborly conversation. I remember seeing Skyly come up to the door, and she saw Molly, and she goes, "Molly's here!" And she kind of hollered for the other kids. They came up to the little storm door, and they didn't come out to pet her or anything. I didn't really think too much of it. They stood by the door. They saw her. They were excited to see her. I had no idea that was going to be my last time ever seeing her. Her smile and excitement is like imprinted into my brain as the last time I saw her. The very next day, it was that was actually the day Amanda had killed her. Nobody knew, obviously, at that point, and she was very quiet when she called the police. She assumed she ran away. Now, Skyly had run away before, and she ran to her grandma's house, and she was found and came back home. I was never aware of the issues in the home. I didn't see them out a lot. That's why I never actually realized that the cousins lived there. I had only seen them that one time. I just assumed they were visiting. But Amanda, when she called the police, it started out as a runaway, and then that first thing in the morning, I actually talked to Amanda, and she was telling me that they think Skyly ran away, and I told her, instead of just texting her, I was like, "Hey, I'm just going to come down. Is that okay?" She's like, "Yeah." So I came down. I even brought my dog, Molly, and we were talking. I gave her a hug. Like, I really, I thought this was a legitimate runaway situation at first. I asked her if she had anything of Skyly's that I could give to my dog to see if she could sniff anything. Not that she was trained. It was just worth a try because we had worked with Molly before with our kids, where like hide and seek, and we'd have the kids hide, and then Molly would have to sniff them out and find them. So I knew she was familiar with that to an extent, but again, not trained like professionally, but it was just worth a shot. And it was a white sweater. Molly had smelled it, and then she sat down in front of Amanda. She didn't go anywhere. So I thought that was odd, and so I kind of coaxed her to move so we'd walk, and then she was sniffing, walking around the house. So as I'm on the porch, their home faces, oh my gosh, I'm so bad with directions. So their house faced north. So when I was at the front porch, Molly went off to the right, walked around between Skyly's house and that blue house that nobody lived at. We walked around, went to the alley, and then came up on the backside where the shed was, and Molly got up, and she was sniffing up and down the fence line, and she got into that corner, and I don't know, I thought maybe there was like a mouse or something or just something in there, because she was digging at it. I didn't think much of it, and I was trying to get her to keep going, like, come on, let's keep walking. And then I get her to walk, and all she did was turn right back around and go back to the front. And she sat down in front of Amanda again. And then she laid down. She would not get up. So I thought, that's odd. So I thought, well, sorry, I tried. I don't know. It's not happening. And then rain started, and I thought, there's no way. The rain, the scent, nothing's going to happen. So then I go ahead. I take Molly home. I go back, and we talk. I get a hold of Rashar, and we had posted some things on Channel 27. I talked with him about getting a search party together. Now, I've never done this before, so I really didn't know what I was doing. Jason's military, so it was something right up his alley to help with organizing. So we made a post, and I had no idea we were going to have the amount of people that we had. It was amazing. It was like everybody in town showed up to try and find her. We had different areas. We had a map set up for people to follow, and we had certain people, like certain groups, go in certain areas so we could cover as much ground as possible without everybody in the same spot, in hopes that we could find things. Anything that they found that was suspicious, they had my phone number. Obviously, they had the police. They could call it in or, message me. We knew that she had certain things with her at the time. I believe it was a pillow, a blanket, and a backpack. And so anytime someone found something they thought might be it, we'd kind of check it out, see if it was anything of hers. I would actually be back and forth talking with Amanda and Kevin, asking, hey, did Skylie own this? Does this look familiar? To see if they recognized anything. I do remember at one point when I met her biological mom for the first time was during the search party. It was over kind of by RJ Basket. There were a pair of flip-flops, and she thought for sure those were Skylie, so I remember we talked with Gas City Police just in case. Turned out they weren't hers. But yeah, we searched the whole day, all through the night. I remember getting a call from Steve. He does Boggin with Steve. He's got that stretch limo, monster truck type style vehicle. He's driven it around a few times with Holden and Courtney. Anyways, I'd gotten a call in the middle of the night from Steve about, I don't remember if it was like a canoe or some kind of a small boat that was kind of parked, that wasn't there earlier, but then it was there. And so they didn't know who the owner was, and we were all tracking down in there trying to figure out what's what. And I remember slipping and falling. I was covered in mud. But yeah, it was nonstop searching all day, all night. I believe I only got about maybe 2 hours of sleep, and then we were right back up searching and searching and searching. Amanda was becoming more distant. So from the first I'd seen her that morning at the point where we thought Skylie had run away, Amanda was very open. She was talking, but as time went on, she was getting more and more kind of distant. And I did think it was odd she didn't want to join the search. And I do remember asking her and Kevin if it was okay if we did the search. I wanted to be respectful, but also we need to get moving on this fast. I called the Gas City Police Department to make sure it was okay that we did the search, and we had so many volunteers. People were bringing, I remember Kathy Lozier, I believe, had brought some what are those walkie-talkies and stuff.
Yep.
So we had there was just so much, and people were printing off all the flyers that we were putting in. We were knocking on doors, but if they didn't answer, we were putting it in their doors. I knew we weren't allowed to put them in their mailboxes, but we could tape them to the mailbox. But yeah, it was just a lot of just searching. I mean, we all wanted the same thing. We all wanted to find her. The whole community they really showed up. It was an incredible thing of unity. It was just amazing. I had high hopes. I really thought we're going to find her. We are going to find her.
Okay, now so Kevin is the biological father.
Kevin's her biological father.
Amanda was the stepmother.
Correct.
Okay, and then you mentioned Jason, which is your husband.
Correct.
Military.
Yep.
So you and him stepped up and spearheaded this effort
Yes.
to find a supposed runaway.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And as time went on, Amanda started to get a little distant, and I knew she was back and forth. She didn't want to do any of the search, which I thought was odd. Kevin was all in. He wanted to help find her. But the way Amanda reacted was a little off.
Was she no longer talking to you?
She
or?
just wanted to stay at home in case Skylie got there. But she was, I just thought she was getting emotional, and keeping to herself. It was just overwhelming. I kept giving her excuses and like justifying it, even though I think deep down I knew something was off. By the time I really knew she had done something, like my gut was like screaming. It was on, let's see, it would have been September 3rd because she went in the middle of the night, technically on September 4th, when she went and ended up confessing. But that night I was actually with Christy Bernardin, and we'd grabbed Taco Bell. We brought dinner to them. It was Kevin and I believe Kenny, his best friend Kenny. We were on the golf cart. We were eating Taco Bell. We knew Amanda was at the police station. She had been getting questioned. And she came home, and I waved to her, and like it was like she just looked through me. She didn't respond. She didn't wave. She just had this blank look. I remember her eyes just looked just so empty, and I knew it. I went home, and shortly after that, I just knew. I knew something had happened. I remember telling Jason, I said, I think she did something. I truly think she did something. Sure enough, I get that call. I had finally fallen asleep that night. I got, again, maybe 2 hours, and then I got a phone call that Amanda had confessed, and they were going back to Carmex to search for the body. And
Take your time.
sorry.
No, you're
Fine. Take your time.
You're absolutely fine.
I remember seeing the coroner van. I already knew when I was told she confessed and they were looking for the body, and I saw the coroner. Like, I knew too much time had passed. I just knew. But I remember they found her. We didn't know the extent of Skyly's suffering right away. Obviously, that came out as time went on. Amanda, I think she just ran out of time. I mean, there's so many things I could just say, but one of the things I think that really stuck out to me was her randomly trying to clear out that shed, claiming that that was already planned. And I thought, okay, maybe she's just trying to keep busy, keep her mind off things. But she had scented candles in there, and she had taken stuff out. I had found out that she had tried to get some help with a family member to help take some of their trash, like, to the dumpster or whatever it was. And I firmly believe that because we had so many volunteers and so many people watching that house, that she had no way to get the body out. I do think if we hadn't all been involved and been watching, and it been such a huge deal that everyone was, very focused on finding Skyly, I do think that she would have tried to, tuck her away with all the trash to try and get rid of her. But she never had the opportunity because they were watching the house, and there were just so many volunteers just constantly up and down that street, just keeping an eye on her. That really threw me off. Like, I get it if you're trying to keep busy, but, like, you're putting scented candles in there and then blaming it on dog poop, but you don't clean up the dog poop. It was almost like she wanted it to have a bad smell. Mm-hmm. And I believe the reason she finally admitted it is because you couldn't cover that smell any longer.
Right.
You just couldn't, not even with the candles. Kevin had put everything back in to the shed. Even he was a little confused why she was doing that. But Amanda was like shutting down, not just with me, but just with everybody in general, even with Kevin. I remember he made sure to get the guns out of the house, because I think at first, before he realized, or before he knew she did, I think he was afraid she was going to blame herself if something happened, right, or, and do something to herself. So it was more of a preventative measure. So she had no way of, she had no choice. She was either going to have to turn herself in. She couldn't hurt herself because all that stuff was taken out of the house already. So I see so back to when she had confessed, and I saw the coroner, and I remember that day. It's just, and it's.
Was it one of the moments where you just dropped your knees?
Oh yeah, I remember Rashar was trying to have me go live, and I don't even remember how many words I was even able to get out, and I completely broke down on camera. I just had to walk off. Rashar had to take over. I couldn't do it. My emotions had taken over at that point. I had volunteered with CASA as a child advocate. We had a trauma in our lives that had caused me to go in that direction, to want to protect kids. A situation that is just very close to us. I don't want to go into detail on it, but the perpetrator is serving time. He actually tried to hire a hitman to kill me, to shut me up, basically. He paid a guy while he was in jail, like a finder's fee, if you will. What he didn't know was that the guy he was trying to talk with to get this set up, to get rid of me so this case would go away. They figured if I was gone, the case would just fall apart. But the guy that was in jail with him actually got a hold of one of the detectives, and they organized somewhat of like not really a sting operation, but they had an undercover. Mm-hmm. So they were able to get all the proof that he was trying to have me killed. But that situation is what really drove me to want to be an advocate for children. And I did volunteer at CASA for like Chin's cases and stuff. I'm no longer with them. But that's how I got into the direction of wanting to help children in general. I just had this fire inside me to just want to help, innocent kiddos. I mean, somebody has to. There's a lot of wonderful people and volunteers that do it, but I am telling you, it is emotionally draining. Mm-hmm. It is tough, but you got to do it. Somebody has to do it. So with Skyly, it was really personal again because, I knew her. I knew of them. They were my neighbors. It's just gut-wrenching. I'm glad Amanda is where she should be. I really wish it didn't come to that. There's so many things you can, look back in hindsight and everything, but I looked back and I thought, why didn't I notice? Like, I literally am an advocate. Like, I've been trained in this, and I didn't see it. Like, Amanda was good at covering it, but it's because she kept the kids inside a lot, I think is what it was, because so I didn't have they didn't come to my house. They would play outside.
Were all those kids homeschooled?
Yeah. The younger ones, the littler ones, no. They weren't old enough to be in school. So I know recently Amanda's brother, he just got charged with that child abuse stuff. That. Obviously, it's separate. What Amanda did is separate than what her brother did. It does make me wonder, like, for both of them to do something like that, like, what were they exposed to something? Like, what I feel like there's so much more. Do I feel any kind of sympathy towards them? No, not at all.
Right.
You have a choice. you know it's wrong. It's wrong. But yeah, I'm starting to lose my train of thought. I'm trying to keep my composure.
Take your time.
So with her brother recently, you know, that's kind of its own situation. It did make me wonder, but I remember feeling so gross because when I went over to Amanda's that day and I gave her that hug, I remember going home after the coroner and everybody left, and I took the hottest, longest shower, I think, in my life. I felt like I just felt dirty. Like I could not believe. I hugged this woman. I was crying with this woman. Like,
But anybody would do that. You're trying to give them the benefit of the doubt.
yes,
Yeah.
I was.
When you're first, told something.
Yeah.
We're all guilty of that.
The shock of it in the beginning, I'm sure, also had something to do with it.
Yes, and just feeling like I failed her, even though, like, I know it wasn't my fault, but, like, I know now I'm super nosy with all my neighbors. When the kids come over, I need to know who their parents are. I want to know who their siblings are. Like, I want to know who these families are, and it just makes me feel better feeling like, okay, I actually know who these people are. Whereas before, kids, it's like, oh, that's the kid from that house, whatever. Now I know, okay, it's this kid, this is his mom, this is his dad, these are the siblings. Like, I have to know who everybody is. I'm very, very particular on where my kids go, and it's no offense to anyone. I do feel a little bad for my kids because I'm very, very cautious about whose home they go to, and for how long. You never know. And she kind of really showed me, it can happen right under someone's nose. And even me being trained, I didn't see anything, but she hit it well. She even hit it from Kevin pretty well. He was on the road a lot. But I believe she scared the kids kind of into submission, if you will. She was really good about giving Kevin like a heads up on what happened and kind of putting the blame on the kids. And so he trusted her as a husband would trust his wife, it's a touchy subject in general, but she wasn't like that with the other kids. It was really only just Skylie. So I don't know if she just had this animosity towards her and just didn't like her. Now Skylie, she's a strong-willed. She was a strong-willed girl. She had a mouth on her just like any other little girl. That's just them. They're emotional. Women in general. Or girls in general, they think emotionally a lot. You have your logical thinking and emotional. Women are very empathetic, so they're very emotional. And as a girl growing up, they're going to be emotional. But Amanda was just really good at hiding things and manipulating the situation to make it seem like it was always the kid's fault. And Kevin just believed her. She was a master of her craft with manipulation.
Manipulators know how to manipulate.
Oh, she was great at it.
And I'm assuming Kevin was on the road when this first took place.
Yep. I believe he had just crossed over from Pennsylvania into Ohio, so he was way over on the east side of Ohio.
So I'm guessing, since she's been sentenced and she's been there, that they're divorced.
Oh yeah, he actually filed like immediately. He's remarried. He's got 2 daughters with his new wife. They seem happy. From what I have heard and when I talk to him, I mean, he's living the best he can. Nothing will ever replace Skylie. I know that. He knows that. But he lost his daughter, he lost his wife, he lost his family, just all at once. With his new wife, I believe that she helps fill a little piece of his heart in a way. And, even having 2 more girls, again, does not replace Skyly, but I think it helps him heal in a way. It's just even knowing, like, Skyly would have been 16 on the first. Like, she didn't get to experience things that people take for granted.
No,
Sorry.
you're fine.
Yeah.
And that's like, and you've got a teenage daughter, or almost a teen,
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
I've got a
Stella.
teenage granddaughter, and it's like, no, you'd have to lock me in a loony bin if something happened to one of my kids
Oh,
or
yeah.
grandkids.
Absolutely.
I'd be in a straitjacket and a 4-patter. The walls would be padded.
Yeah, I always worry, like, if something happened to one of them, like, I think the only thing that would keep me here would be just because I would be afraid of, the afterlife, if you will. I need to know that, like, I'm going to be with them again.
Right.
Yeah.
But and something that's touching me just from what you said, which is society these days. If we have younger children, we need to know where they're at, who they're with, what kind of family life do these other kids have.
Yeah.
And what you did is just, it's amazing.
Yeah, I can't help but feel like this could have been prevented if the state had some kind of policy
100% agree.
about homeschooling.
Yes.
Because they don't follow up on the homeschooled children like they do with the public schools.
Yeah, I 100% agree. You're right. You're bullseye. And I do believe that was another way she was able to hide it, because she pulled them out of school. Skyly was going to Mississinawa. Mississinawa had nothing to do with any of it. It's a parent's choice to pull their kids out. And the homeschooling was not affiliated with Mississinawa. So for Mississinawa, they just unenrolled her out. And that was that. But I 100% agree with you. There needs to be change.
At the state level.
Yes, 100%. I would love to be able to help figure out a way to do something like that to help get the ball rolling. I don't really know how to start, but I would love if we could get into contact with somebody. That would be amazing, because they don't record. At school, at least the teacher sees the children, and they can see if there's any kind of bruising, if they're starting to become withdrawn, things like that are red flags. And in Indiana, any adult is a mandated reporter, but even more so, at school. Right. And with Skyly not going to school, I feel like Conrad said, like, Amanda was able to hide the abuse even more by not having her in school, and there absolutely needs to be more regulation on homeschooling. I think homeschooling is wonderful, especially since COVID. I do.
Right.
But there has to be more in place for the safety of these kids, because some kids, they go to school and that might be their only meal for the day.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I love that.
Their best meal that day.
Yeah, exactly. And I love the program Mississinawa has through the summer and all that, with the free meals and take-home meals. I think it's absolutely wonderful. But yeah, when it comes to homeschooling, there needs to be legislation. There just has to be. So many kids fall through the cracks, and these abusers are taking advantage of it because they can do this quietly without anyone knowing.
Yeah, it's not reported. It's
right? Your state representative, your
Absolutely.
Senator, congressman,
congressman.
anybody in the county that's
Yeah.
going up for election. I mean,
Yeah.
put the bug everywhere. So I'm assuming, okay, so we know that the Gas City Police Department was heavily involved in this.
Yes.
Was the Sheriff's Department?
And
Was
the
the state police?
The Indiana State Police. Yep.
Okay.
Who was the lead on that?
It was Chief Eckstein.
Tim
at the
Eckstein.
time.
Eckstein.
Yep.
Yeah, at the time he was the chief, and then Indiana State Police, I remember, were heavily involved. I'm not sure exactly who had the lead between the two.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say it was ISP. I'm not 100%, but they all did just an amazing job. And I know
Yes.
there was some talk around town because the initial search in the home, it wasn't like a full-on search where they had the search warrant. They just kind of looked around in the whole area. They were looking for a little girl hiding.
Yeah.
They were not looking for a body.
Yes.
And Amanda hid her pretty well. She even had clothes, and like she had her in the bag. She had clothes, so even if you touched the bag, you would have felt clothes.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't have felt her right away. Like she concealed things very, very well until she couldn't anymore. But I know the officer, people were kind of saying their things about it, and I never thought that was right because I am sure that weighed heavy
Yeah.
on them, and it was not
Oh,
their
yeah.
fault
Yes.
at all. And I know people get angry, emotions run high. The only
And people
person to
want
blame,
things right now.
Exactly. The only person to blame was Amanda.
Yes. And that's so now. So between Kevin and Amanda, so Skylie was Kevin's. Did they have any together, or was it just
No. Amanda had her children. I don't recall that she was married, but she had children previous to
Okay.
Kevin. They did not have children together. And then she had custody of her brother, the one we just mentioned.
That's where the cousins were at.
Yep.
Okay.
She had I don't know if it was legal custody, but they had been there. She was taking care of them. I'm not sure if it was full on a legal guardianship
Right.
situation. I guess I never really looked that deep into it, but yeah, they were there. Again, I thought they were just visiting for the summer. I never saw them out much, and that's what really shocked me too. It was like all this just right under my nose. Didn't know. She kept them in the house a lot. So
Yeah. And like I said, they were homeschooled. It was really a tragedy. And tomorrow there's an event going on in Memorial.
yeah, a memorial ride. It's not just motorcycles. I mean, vehicles can ride too. I usually drive my truck at the tail end, usually with my flashers on. But yeah, cars, bikes, even just showing up for support in the beginning while everyone's registering, that's fine too. But yeah, absolutely, everybody is invited to come, and I'm hoping for a really good turnout.
I hope so too.
Yeah, that'll be great.
And we are greatly appreciative that you came on and shared your story with us.
Yeah,
Thank you for
it's-
having me. I was I was a little nervous. I know it's a sensitive topic and
Yeah.
or a subject, and I know again with the emotions, people, I was worried. Are they going to get upset with me? Or but I don't want her memory to fade.
Correct.
I want
Yeah.
everyone to remember her. She didn't deserve it. No child deserves
No,
that
they don't.
at all.
They don't.
But I don't want people to forget about her. That's my main mission, is that she didn't die in vain, and if we can figure out a way to keep her memory alive, and with programs and help, especially like you had mentioned,
Yeah.
figure out a way with legislation. with the homeschooling to try and help protect the children even more. You know, if we can save even just one child, I feel like that's amazing. Obviously, I want to save more, but I just
Yeah.
don't want her death to be in vain, and I don't want people to forget about her.
Well, and to Conrad and I, and to everybody that's
Yeah.
going to listen to this, you're amazing
Yeah,
For
you did a great job.
carrying this on. Not just for her, but you're looking out for so many others. And you know, you got to tell people there's hotlines they can call
Yeah.
if you're suspecting
Yeah.
abuse in a home, or or spousal abuse, child abuse, whatever. There are numbers you can call, agencies you can reach out to.
Tell someone.
Don't
Absolutely.
like I said, even if you're suspicious,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with reporting somebody, is there?
No. And I think some families, and I know it happened in this situation I dealt with, you know, it was trying to be swept under the rug, or no matter how much proof is there, there's always going to be a family member or friend that they're going to just ride for, oh, they didn't do it, no matter how much proof is in front. So there are going to be people that are just going to turn a blind eye because they want to protect their person or whatever it may be, or they just don't believe the child. If a child is telling you something, I always say, believe the child until proven wrong.
Right.
Because most kids don't make up stories
No,
like that.
they don't.
I understand in some cases there might be a manipulative parent, or, you know, there could be some parental alienation going on. Like, there's always going to be that little gray zone. But for the majority of the time, if a child's speaking up and saying something, listen, look into it, call somebody, report it, get it investigated. If it comes out that nothing happened, great. But what if something did truly happen and you just turned a blind eye? Like, I can't get on board with that. I can't get on board with sweeping it under the rug. I don't care if it's an embarrassment to the family. I do not
Exactly.
care. That child's life and well-being is worth so much more than a reputation or whatever it may be. Like,
Yep. There's no doubt about that.
Yep.
Like I said, whether it's a child, it's a spouse, you have an addiction problem, there's
Absolutely.
help, people.
yes.
There's help.
There is help, and it's a phone call away. Ashley, thank you so much. We
Yes,
appreciate
thank
for
you.
having
We
me.
appreciate you.
We'll have you back and under different circumstances. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yes,
Thank you,
thanks.
guys.
We'll see you next time. Right, Teddy?
We're out.
We're out.
You did great. You composed
I
yourself pretty well.
tried.
Very good.